This new Warlock Strand build dominates everything. Now, I wasn't a big fan of Strand when we had to use it during the campaign, but now that we have all the aspects and fragments unlocked, as well as the new Strand grenade abilities, we can really develop these builds further. So today we've got a new Strand build for the Warlock, which is going to give us really good ad clearing in all types of PvE content. You can use this build in a new seasonal activity, which is what I did, and that caps you under the recommended power level, or you can even use it into more difficult modes, it really doesn't matter. Now with this build you're going to be getting faster abilities, which we'll use specifically to create Strand Threadlings, and using a combination of mods, Strand fragments, and the new exotic boots for the Warlock, we'll be taking this build a whole step further, which is just going to melt everything. So guys, if you like this one, then a rating is much appreciated, and be sure to subscribe if you want to keep up with some of the best latest builds out. But now without further delay, let's get straight into the build. Now just quickly as always, if you do like these build videos and you want to see more like this, then I do have a full playlist for Lightfall Season 20 down below, which is where you'll be able to find all of these builds over the next few months until Season 21 starts. So check it out because you might just find your new best build. But with this one today, we're going to be using the new Strand Subclass to just dominate in all types of PvE content, because we're going to be taking advantage of the new Strand Threadlings. These are little creature things from the Strand matter that seek out nearby targets and attacks them, dealing damage. It's sort of like the colony in a way, if you've ever used that exotic weapon where it sends out seeking robot grenades, so it sort of acts similar to that, except they're Threadlings. Now we're going to be able to hold up to 5 Strand Threadlings, which you'll be able to see in the bottom left corner of the screen where you have all your active buffs, as long as you have at least one Threadling, and these Threadlings are going to be following you around until they go off and attack an enemy, which will happen when you start shooting at ads. Now the basic example of how this build is going to work is you're first going to collect some orbs of power, which is going to give you armor charge. You're then going to consume your grenade energy, which will give you 5 Threadlings, and half of that grenade energy straight back, consuming all of your armor charge. Then shooting enemies will send out those Threadlings, and those Threadlings will attack and eventually kill those ads that you shoot, which will spawn in those green orbs for tangles. You can then shoot them or pick them up and throw them, which is what I usually do, and that way you'll spawn in another 2 Threadlings, and as long as you don't have an active tangle cooldown debuff, you'll be able to spawn more tangles, and you can just loop between the tangles and the Threadlings non-stop, which is just crazy. You can even use your other abilities like your melee to spawn more tangles, and you can also use your rift too, which will spawn more Threadlings. So we're using a new Strand subclass with the Threadling grenade ability, which is a woven projectile that reweaves itself into Threadlings while in flight, as of course we already know that Threadlings will attack enemies and kill them. Now using the Strand aspect, Mind Spun Invocation, what this will do is enhance our grenade functions. So for our Threadling grenade, we'll now be able to hold to consume it, which will immediately generate 5 Threadlings. You can also throw them if you want to, but it will only spawn 3. I tend to just consume them all because you get more Threadlings, and you can just decide when those Threadlings go out and attack by shooting enemies. Now the other aspect we're using is the Weaver's Call, because this will spawn in 3 more Threadlings and deploy them instantly when we use our rift. And that rift we're using is the healing one, so when you're close to death or you need to heal up and there are ads around, just use your rift and those ads around you are most likely going to die from the Threadlings while also giving you health. And then it will also spawn a tangle upon killing the ads, which will then spawn more Threadlings and eventually lead to another tangle. So you can see where this is going. And then from here you're just constantly making good use of those 2 aspects and those Threadlings. Now we do have to use the new exotic boots, the Swarmers, which tagged along with Lightfall, because this is what will spawn those Threadlings from tangles, as destroying a tangle spawns a Threadling, and those Threadlings unravel targets that they damage, which just means we're going to be able to loop between the tangles and the Threadlings. Without the exotic you won't be able to do that, as you simply just won't make Threadlings when destroying those tangles, which are the green orbs that you either shoot or throw at enemies. I am also using a new Strand fragment, Thread of Finality, which gives us more Threadlings when we finish enemies, which is also nice. It's just another source to spawn them, and along with that fragment we will be able to get a plus 10 to our recovery stat, which will help speed up our rift ability cooldown, because you want your recovery to be ideally 100 along with a discipline stat, so that we can get our grenade and rift back quicker. The other fragments I'm using with this build are just the Thread of Mind, which we're not really going to make use of, so you can swap that one out. The Thread of Warding, so that those orbs that we pick up will give us Woven Mail, which will give us damage resistance. And then Thread of Fury, so that we can get melee energy when damaging targets with a tangle. And that melee ability, the Arcane Needle, is going to create those tangles when we kill ads with it, and therefore make more Threadlings. Now we are going to be taking advantage of the armor charge system by using a grenade kickstart. We're actually going to be using 3 grenade kickstart mods, so initially we'll get grenade energy, around 20% of it by just throwing or consuming our grenade, and then if we have armor charge stacks, we'll get about 50% of that grenade energy straight back right after throwing it or consuming it. So we'll need to get some armor charge, and the way we're going to be doing that is by picking up orbs of power. And we're using these stacks on stacks so that we can get 2 for every 1 orb. The way we'll get those orbs spawned in for ourselves will be to use a Cypher mod in the helmet. I'm using 2 void ones to spawn in orbs on rapid void weapon kills with a status one. And there's multiple reasons for this. The first reason is that the void weapon will be the funnel web, a really good void SMG. So rapid kills with this weapon will spawn in the orbs to get us armor charge. But with 2 artifact perks, the overload SMG rounds, which will stun overload champions, and then the volatile flow to get volatile rounds for void weapons, will really make this build so much better, especially for ad clearing and champion control. Because the overload SMG will stun overloads while also having volatile rounds, but those volatile rounds are also going to stun barriers. Now don't take my word on this, I don't believe you can actually use the overload rounds on overloads if you're currently volatile. So our solution to that is to use the stasis slow effect to stun overloads during the time that we're volatile, which will be by our crafted deliverance with the chill clip trait. So we're really taking advantage of these artifact perks and stunning effects, but at the same time increasing our ad clear efficiency by using the volatile rounds. So now we have our Cypher mods in the helmet and our grenade kickstart mods in the arms, with our stacks on stacks in the chest. The next thing we're going to want is to have a charged up to hold an extra stack of armor charge. And then in the legs, we're going to use 2 cooldown mods to help our grenade and class ability when picking up the orbs as well, because since we're picking up orbs anyway, we may as well make the most out of them. But the last thing is in the class armor, where we have 3 bomber mods to almost top off the rest of our grenade energy when we use it, while at 4 stacks of armor charge. I did try using 3 distribution mods, but we had to be near enemies and it just didn't really seem as effective as 3 bomber mods, so I slot those on instead. But other than that, this is the artifact setup. I just have the cheaper grenades mod, the shatter orbs, and the volatile flow, which are the only artifact mods or perks that are really making a difference to this build. Just remember to not have your resilience too low, because you ideally want to have as much damage resistance as possible, or you're going to be struggling a lot when it comes to playing in endgame PvE. Anyway, this build does a really good job at ad clearing in a lot of content where you have a lot of ads like the new seasonal activity, so not only it's fun to use, but it does a great job at clearing a room. Just make sure that when you are consuming a grenade for Threadlings, that you ideally have some stacks of armor charge, and that you're only using a rift when you still need grenade energy, because otherwise you might be waiting a little longer on those abilities, and the loop of tangles and Threadlings might become a little inconsistent. But either way, a really good build to start using this season if you really like the Strand subclass for the Warlock. Now if you don't like Strand, or you like Strand and you want to see more builds for all subclasses in the game, not just for this one and the Warlock, then be sure to check out the playlist down below and subscribe so you don't miss out on some top tier builds, because I do make new and updated builds every single season, so that playlist below will start to fill up very soon and you might just find your new favourite build. So guys, for now give this one a try, let me know what you think of it down below, and I'll catch you guys very soon for the next build video. Peace out guys.